But what we ended up with was a dog poop disaster on Rodeo Drive. Spoiler alert, Chanel bags are surprisingly versatile. Good morning, welcome back to my channel. This morning I'm going to do a glam weekend makeup. I've got a garden party to go to, which is unheard of, a garden party in England in spring. But there you go, so I'm trying for a glam but daytime look. And while I do my face, I thought I would actually tell you why I moved 5,000 miles back in 2011 to go and live in Los Angeles. It was a very hideous winter, 2010 actually, and I just thought, I can't stand this. Why don't I just go and move? I knew LA because I'd got friends there and I'd worked there on and off for like 10 years. So I just thought, why don't I just move lock, stock and barrel? By the way, the products that I'm going to use will be all in the description box. I'll mention some along the way, but my skin is skinning. I've got my skin prep on and actually my texture isn't so bad today. So I'm just going to add a little bit of my Makiage primer, just one pump. That's what this is. It's not for everyone. It's quite slippy, but it's sort of supposed to fill your pores and make your foundation be a little bit more, go on a bit smoother. Anyway, so I was living in a very leafy suburb of London and I remember very clearly, it was Christmas 2010. This is MAC. I don't know, is that my colour? Is that my colour? Is that my colour? Let's see what happens. I'm going to just do a very light layer. This is one Size B12 Base thinner, and I do actually like it. It does thin down any base so that it has a chance of, oh actually, you know what? That's not bad. It gives you a little bit of gloss, glow rather, not gloss. gloss paint. Anyway, so I was washing up and I just thought, I'm going to do it. So as soon as the Christmas holidays were over, I applied for a visa, renewed my passport, got the flights, got an agent, because you have to have an agent out there before anybody will give you any work. I'm a TV producer, by the way. I actually found somewhere to live because I had friends there and they knew that I was coming, so they were kind of like chipping in and helping me to get settled. It was great to have a sort of ready-made support system over there, because I'd built it up over the years of toing and froing with work and various other things that I'd done based over there, but I'd never actually fully committed to living in the City of Angels, as they call it. Everyone chipped in basically. Quite a few British friends who lived there, worked in the film industry, and I also had some really, really nice American friends. Do I need a bit more base? Do I? I'm trying not to look too over made up because I know it's going to be a daytime thing. So some of you might know that I don't do my eyebrows until I've put my eyeshadow on. It just helps me to focus on my eyes first and then I can adjust my eyebrows to suit the makeup. And I always leave my concealer until the last but one thing that I do, because it sort of cleans up the whole area after I've added blush and bronzer. So now, in honour of my LA adventure, I'm actually going to use, does anybody remember this? The Too Faced chocolate bar. Now, I was given this as a Christmas present in 2016. Obviously, as you can tell, it's very, very, very well loved. Now, I haven't used it for years, but I thought because I was thinking about LA, that I would use it. Obviously, Too Faced has had its ups and downs over the years. This came out, I think, when it was still quite a popular brand. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to use a few of these to try and make a sort of spring makeup look. Anyway, so it was on March the 4th, I think, 2011, when I got on a plane with my beloved dog, Tess. I haven't told you about Tess, but Tess was, she's not with me any longer, a black and white Cocker Spaniel and was the absolute love of my life. And if you're a dog lover, you'll know exactly what that means. Tess and I got on the plane and, you know, expecting celebrities and mochas and cappuccinos and frappuccinos and sunshine and smoothies. But what we ended up with was a dog poop disaster on Rodeo Drive. I literally was that dog owner. Not a public dog disaster, dog poop disaster, actually, outside Chanel on Rodeo Drive. Spoiler alert, Chanel bags are surprisingly versatile. So I've got off the 11-hour flight, having actually gripped the arms of my seat on the plane because I knew that Tess was in a carrier in the cargo hold. And I, for 11 hours, just sat there kind of thinking, oh my God, is she going to be all right? Will she survive? So I stepped off the plane 11 hours later, and before I did anything, it was Operation Rescue Tess. So I had to go and get her from the hangar where they had put her after she'd disembarked, and she'd endured all that time, and I thought, oh God, she's not going to cope with this, but she did. I've used salted caramel, which is that one. Now I'm going to use, I think that's called Bonbon, and that one's called Amaretto. So I'm actually going to just put that into my crease, just at the bottom of my crease, just to slightly define that. And then very fluffy brush. Most of my brushes, by the way, are Real Techniques, because I worked with Pixie Woo, Sam and Nick Chapman, way back when. I actually produced a documentary that they did on Hollywood makeup, and the first time I met them was at the rather infamous Roosevelt Hotel right in the middle of Hollywood. That day they were doing a particular piece on Marilyn Monroe. Anyway, 6 months later we'd edited it and put out the documentary through the BBC. It was another great makeup triumph for me anyway, because I was able to kind of meld my passion, makeup, with my job, because the other things that I've made are about gold miners in Greenland, or airports in Alaska, or Brits in Spain having fun. And I've also had my share of reality shows with various people who are famous in England. And what I'm going to do now actually is, I'm going to try, this is a really weird choice I'm sure, but this is oh, I keep doing that. This is Candied Violet, this purple thing here. And I'm going to put that on my lid in the space that I've left with no shadow on it. Now this is my Vieve setting spray and a very, very fine pack-on brush, because I can't remember. This is so weird that this is like so old, and yet it still smells like chocolate, and it's still, I'm not going to recommend this using an old palette to anybody else. It's just me, my face, so disclaimer here, please do not do this because you've seen me do it. But I just couldn't resist it because it just gave me my Hollywood vibes, as I got it from a friend when I was still out there in 2016, I think. All right, so here we go. I've packed it on. Wish me luck. Oh, I might have overdone it on the brush. Now then, can you see? I've overwet my brush. It's just gone watery, but I'm going to persevere. Don't panic, anyone. Try this one. That's better because my brush is drying out slightly now. So you can hardly tell that it's purple. You can sort of tell. Actually, you really can tell when it dries down. Anyway, so Tess and I get out of the airport eventually after filling in tons of paperwork, and we get in our car and we whiz along to our new Hollywood pad. I noticed some lovely hot spots that I'd been to before, like the Chateau Marmont, which everybody's heard of, or maybe not, but it's a very famous hotel on Sunset Strip where some very bad behaviour was done in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s and 80s, and probably even longer. LA actors. We went past the Chateau Marmont, and I knew that we were quite close to our new digs. Then I saw the Whiskey A Go Go, which is a very famous club where nearly everyone who's famous, even now, played in the very early days in the 70s and the 80s. So we turned right there, up the hill, and we arrived at our pad and unpacked and started our new life in the sun. I'm just going to do my mascara off camera because nobody needs to see the faces that I pull, and I'm going to do my eyebrows off camera because it's just such a personal thing. Now everybody gets annoyed with my eyebrows because I don't do anything to them, but I'm going to just tidy them up a little bit. I'm not very good at the Instagram eyebrow, so I just fill them in the gaps. You see I've got a gap there and there. I'm going to do that and then I'm going to come back. There we go, I'm all done. Mascara on, my Bad Gal by Benefit as usual, that's nothing new there. On my eyebrows I used my Brow Wiz from Anastasia Beverly Hills, and then a tiny little bit of Glossier to fill in the gaps, and my Anastasia Brow Gel also. So that's that done. Do you think my eyes look a bit boring? Anyway, so where were we in my story? Oh, so a few days later, after we moved in to this new place in Beverly Hills, we found out that Lindsay Lohan was our neighbour, and she's obviously, at that time, she was like an it girl along the lines of, you know, Paris Hilton, and it was before social media really took off, so the paparazzi were the only way you could get photos of people to put in magazines. And I think there was a show called TMZ in the States that they famously got the tape of Britney bashing a car that belonged to a paparazzi with an umbrella. By the way, apparently he's auctioning off that umbrella, the paparazzi. So quite regularly there were about 300 paparazzi outside down the street, and I kept thinking, what on earth's going on here? I wasn't used to the living next door to a celebrity neighbour, so that sort of rather gave it away. And then somebody told me it was Lindsay Lohan. I never actually saw her. She was only there, I think, for a couple of months. I think she then moved to East LA shortly afterwards, and probably still lives there. It was probably a good thing, because in the long run 2011 didn't get much better for Linz. LA in 2011 was a mix of, do you remember Juicy tracksuits? And Kitson was a very, very famous store, thanks to the likes of Paris Hilton, Nicole Richie, Rihanna and other people. And Kitson was the only place to get anything. Although actually I think Abercrombie and Fitch was quite big at the time. Of course, Forever 21 was a big store. I think Missoni, the really, really posh Italian brand, did a collab with, was it Target? I think it was Target. And Versace went to and did a collaboration with H&M. They called it Cheap Chic. So we all did the cheap chic thing. And I asked my friend what to wear in kind of like meetings and going out, and she said, darling, just wear a pair of jeans, a nice top and a really, really good handbag. That was it. That was basically my intro into how to blend in with the locals in Los Angeles. Anyway, Tess and I kind of moved in, got ourselves sorted. We did little walks. We went down to Sunset Strip and wandered around, again, the very, very famous clubs. I do remember we walked past the Viper Room and people were still laying flowers in memory of River Phoenix. Then we used to love driving down to Santa Monica, the beach area. We were in West Hollywood. And when I got a bit braver, I drove up the Pacific Coast Highway to Malibu, where the beaches are amazing. Beachfront houses were so spectacular. And Tess and I used to walk up and down the beach. I was looking at the houses, she was digging, literally digging to get to the other side of the world, I think. She used to love the beach and used to go and watch the waves come in and out and the pelicans. It was really, really, really amazing. Sadly, that part of the world is now changed forever because of the LA fires earlier this year. Destroyed so many houses nearby and lots of businesses too. I used to go to a place called Moon Shadows that had wonderful tables looking over the ocean. That's no longer there after 40 years of serving customers. Right, I better get on with this now. This is my beloved. I'm going to shape my face. So basically, I've got as little as possible on my face, but I'm going to try and give it a bit of shape. And this is my Fenty in Mocha, which is supposed to be a contour. But I sort of use it as I do use it as a contour, but actually it's also a really good bronzer for me. And just pop that in. Anyway, after a couple of weeks and our jet lag subsided and we all got used to the temperatures, Tess and I used to go down to Beverly Hills and look at the wide pavements, admiring the manicured lawns, and we used to play, I wonder who lives in that house. I found out a couple of months later that one of the houses that I looked at, actually the Menendez brothers had lived in it. So yeah, there you go. Let's see what happens with their trial. That's my bronzer done. I'm now going to add some blush. Now this is my first layer of blush. This is an experiment, this is the first. I have no idea how this is going to go. This is Katie Jane Hughes, and I saw Hindash using it and it looked amazing. I think it was Hindash, it might have been, or it might have been Hung Van Go actually. But anyway, so I'm going to try and bring myself a spring face by popping this on. So once Tess and I had exhausted the houses in Beverly Hills and we'd seen everything, I used to take her to shopping, because in LA dogs are welcome in so many shops. In fact, I think all of them, to be honest, which was a big change from the UK. It was like, Bloomingdale's, come on in. Neiman Marcus, wag your tail. It was literally like dogs were more welcome. And actually one shop assistant actually said to me they recognise the dogs more than the owners when the dogs come back into the store. So that's quite funny. Anyway, we went into Chanel, beautiful Chanel store, which just smells of, well, money actually, on Rodeo Drive. And we decided to just, Tess and I were just getting out of the heat basically. She was, you know, absolutely having her doggy influencer moment with the shop assistants there, who looked so beautiful and Chanel-like, as if they just walked off a street in Paris, basically. We did that, and that's when I decided that we kind of needed to hit the pavements again and head down to Louis Vuitton. I wasn't buying anything, I was just looking, basically. And as we stepped back onto the pavement, it was lunchtime, so it was really, really, really busy. So then Tess just kind of stopped and she froze, and I'm like, she just doesn't want to leave the shop because they made such a fuss of her. But oh no, she was literally about to take the biggest, most majestic, most Hollywood poop on the doorstep of Chanel on Rodeo Drive. I was absolutely mortified. I was literally praying that the earth would swallow me up, or at least offer me a poop bag, because I didn't have anything with me. But enter the Chanel girls. Just going to put some highlighter on. And here is my Pixie Woo special brush that was in the package with the video that we made about Hollywood makeup and how it's affected us through the years. It was a good little documentary, that actually. There was a presentation pack with the video and a brush. I've still got it. So this is my highlighter, and I'm going to do my little hack that I always find on my mature skin, very mature skin. That highlighter on its own just seems to sit on top. I saw somewhere that was quite an interesting thing to do. So I am taking my Makeup by Mario blush and popping some cream blush over the highlighter powder. That was my Ambient highlighter. It sort of mixes it in better. Now I've got this terrible thing here that I've always had, and I don't know quite what to do about it. I probably need to go and see someone. But this is why I use my concealer last, because I put everything on and then I can work out what needs to be covered up, and I do that with my concealer at the end. I know that's a bit of a controversial move, but there you go. So anyway, the Chanel girls came in their kind of like their suit. They flew in their kind of like fashion forward superhero way, armed with those, you know, those little Chanel bags that have the string and, you know, the double C's and everything. Literally, you know, normally you kind of like, that's what they'd give you your $1,000 lipstick. But they came in, and that day it held poop, and they even offered to dispose of it for me, which was so glam and so LA. Very glad that she did it there and not Louis Vuitton. Thank goodness for that. So that's that. And it was that cringe event and the kindness showed to me by those women that made me fall in love with makeup, really, which is a bit of an odd connection, but there you go. So there is my face. Now then, to refine, let's do concealer. So Tasha Denone, here we go. I've actually worked out that really less is more. Can you believe that? But it really is. And then what I do with this little mark thing is I just dot them across. With a concealer brush, I pat everything in, and it sort of tidies up that line where I've put the blusher and the bronzer and everything else, and it just sort of gives me a nice little outline. Now here on this one, I tend to pat it in, but I will just leave it for a bit to do its thing before I fully blend it out. There we go. That's that. It's not actually gone, but it's gone. It's a bit better. A little bit of brightener here. This is all before. I'm not going to use a powder either. I have very, very dry skin. Using a powder is actually a bit of a disaster for me. So I don't actually ever use that. And then just to blend it all out, go back to my foundation brush and just smooth out the edges. So there you go. So in honour of the Chanel girls, I'm going to actually use a Chanel lipstick, and I can't quite decide whether to use this one or is it that one. So I think I might use this one because it's a little bit more subtle. And no lip liner today. What do you think? It's a little bit corally and it doesn't clash with my purple eyes. It's very, very soft. It's almost like a consistency of sort of like an oil or a gel. There. So that's my finished look. I'm going to add some of my Vieve setting spray. I tell you, this is absolute genius. Oh, actually, just make sure no creases. So I'm not going to use powder. I'm just going, this is, nothing moves. I swear to God, a whole day and nothing will move with good old Jamie Genevieve setting spray. It's absolutely fantastic. Chocolate bar lived up to its memory and I'm very pleased that I use that. As I said, it's not for everyone, so please don't use it if you don't want to. Actually, you know, while I've got it out, I'm actually going to add a little bit of a highlight in the centre. It's one of the lighter colours that's in here, just to give me a little bit of a brighter sparkle. That's it. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, share. I will be posting some more LA stories. Have you ever been to LA? Do you live in LA? Have you moved somewhere miles and miles away with a doggy? And has your doggy pooped outside a Chanel store? Or where is the weirdest place that your dog has pooped, or the most embarrassing place that your dog has pooped? Let me know in the comments below and I will see you very soon.